All right, this is seventh grade. We're starting chapter 2. This is on page 85. I actually want you guys to do this today. So, and I'd like to grade it today. So before you guys leave for lunch in a little over an hour, just knock out this page. But in the meantime, for your Friday work, and of course it'll be Friday work if you don't finish in class, we are going to start 2-1. That's on page 89. So let's jump to page 90, and I'm looking at example 1. And what we're talking about here is unit rates. Let me grab a pen here. It says find unit rates. So here we got two individuals, Nathan and Dan. They were both hired as lifeguards for the summer, and they received their paychecks for their first week. Who earns more per hour? Because they're obviously paid by the hour. They're not on a salary. In other words, it's not just base, like they get $50 a week or $100 a week. For every hour they work, they get X number of dollars per hour. So here's Dan Jones. He worked 9 hours, and this is how much he made. Here's Nathan Smith. He worked 5 hours, and he made this much. And the question is, who is making more per hour? Not total. We want to know per hour. So here's what they did. They drew a model to show how the quantities are related. So here's Nathan's pay. He made $46.25 in 5 hours. And so what you would then do is divide 46.25 by 5. And 5 by 5 is 1. So here's 1 hour, and then you're going to get his hourly rate right here where the question mark is. And they did that for us here. If you just move it across, 46.25, divide that by 5, you get $9.25 an hour. So in 1 hour, that's what Nathan makes. Here's Dan's pay. Dan made a total of $78.75, but he worked 9 hours, not just 5, he worked 9. So you would do the same thing. You would divide that by 9 and divide 9 by 9. I wanted to set it up this way. And you would figure out his hourly rate, and that's exactly what they did there for us. 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 78.75 divided by 9 is 8.75. And then you can see that Nathan earns 50 cents more an hour. So when you figure out an hourly rate, that's one way to do it. I think most of you, like, for example, for Nathan here and Dan, I would have just divided each one, like Nathan by 5 and Dan by 9, and I'd be able to tell how much he made. But if this helps setting it up this way, you can. Scratch out the try it and convince me. I'm not worried about that. Let's look at example 2. It says Brian agrees to watch his neighbor's dog for 7 days, and it's more than one dog. His neighbor provided 128 ounces of dog food. Does he have enough food to feed the dogs all 7 days? Well, so here we have Buster and Roxy. So Buster eats in 2 days 20.5 ounces. Roxy in 3 days eats 22.5 ounces in 3 days. So you're kind of doing the same thing. You want to break it down per day. So here's Buster, 20.5 ounces in 2 days. We're going to divide it by 2. And 20.5 divided by 2 is 10.25. I think a lot of you could have just done that in your head. So in 1 day, that's how many ounces Buster is going to eat. But they're gone for 7 days. So then you need to multiply that by 7. And then this is the total that he would eat in 7 days. Roxy, okay, again, we're just dividing 22.5 by 3. They've done that. So then we get our daily rate, and that's 7.5 ounces. Well, then you want to multiply that by 7 because they're gone, again, they're gone 7 days. And 7.5 times 7 is 52.5. And then when you have those two, you have to add them together. And then what do you get here? Down here at the bottom, 71.75 plus 52.5. So that's the total. And that's less than 124.25. That's less than 128 ounces. So he does have enough food so the two little dogs won't starve to death. Yes?
This is basically just like division, kind of.
It is. it is basically dividing to find the unit rate.
This is pretty simple.
Okay, it is pretty simple. These both, example 1 and example 2, are good examples. Example 3, it's much the same thing. We're comparing rates, a rabbit, 8 meters in 1, 2, 3 hops. And so they set up a table, make tables. Sometimes you'll have some questions where it might be easy. Meters. All right. The kangaroo rat in 5 jumps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it does 12 meters. So if we double that, if it went 10 jumps, what's 12 plus 12? 24. So what do we have here? The rabbit jumps 24 meters in 9 jumps, right here. The kangaroo rat jumps 24 meters in 10 jumps. Okay. Scratch out the try it. Not worried about that. Now let's look what I want you to do here. Key concept. Up at the top of page 92, it says you can use equivalent ratio rates and including unit rates to compare ratios and to solve problems. So here we have, they don't even tell us what it's about, but we have 45.5 divided by 7. I don't know, maybe that's how much somebody earned after 7 days of doing some little chore every day. And so then you would divide 45.5 by 7, and that's what they did here, and then you're going to get 6.5. So whatever that chore was, somebody made $6.50 every time they did that chore. Okay? So number 1, circle that, and I answered it for you here. You can use ratios, rates, or unit rates to represent related quantities. Again, you can use ratios, rates, or unit rates to represent related quantities. Number 2, I answered that one for you. Circle it. It says which is less expensive per pound. And then they ask another question, how much less expensive? So it says complete the tables of equivalent ratios to help you solve. All right. So almonds, you can buy 2 pounds of almonds for $21.98. So there's 2 pounds. There's the cost. So the cost per pound, well, figure that out by dividing $21.98 divided by 2, and then I'm going to get $10.99. And then apricots is $26.25 for 3 pounds. So here's $26.25 and 3 pounds. Well, I want to know the cost per pound, so I'm going to divide $26.25 by 3. I'll even put a little division symbol here. And that's going to be $8.75. Or 8.75 is how many times 3 would do that. So the cost for dried apricots is $8.75 per pound. So the almonds are more expensive. So, and then they have one more question here, and you guys got to watch for these kinds of things. It says, how much less expensive? Well, you have to find the difference between the two. So you would subtract $8.75 from $10.99, and you're going to get $2.24 per pound. All right, you guys pay attention to that one. Maybe I'll just put that one on a hand quiz or something. All right. Circle number 4. Start that one for you. Crystal is comparing 2 internet service plans. Plan 1 costs $34.99 per month. Plan 2 costs $134.97 every 3 months. If Crystal plans to stay with one service for 1 year, which one should she choose? And then it says, how much would she save? Yeah, I'm not worried about that. Scratch that out. So plan 1, well, that's easy. It's $34.99 a month. They tell us that. Now you need to figure out how much this is per month, plan 2. Well, how would you do that? 134.97 divided by 3, question mark. You can figure that one out. All right, and then you can compare the 2 plans per month and see which one is more expensive. Okay. Circle 5 and 6. I want you to do those. Page 93. 7. Fill out those 4 boxes. And then these 2 over here. And I did this one for you, 5 miles. And then 1,956. So you need to figure out David's steps with these 2 boxes. Number 8, fill those out. Number 9, I set it up for you, underlined per ounce. It says, which package has the lowest cost per ounce? Okay, so here's this one, $4.56 for 12 ounces. Well, if you needed to figure out how much it is per ounce, you're going to divide it by 12, and that's what I started to do here. And here the white rice is $6.30 for 18 ounces. Well, again, you're going to divide that by 18. And then finally here we have white rice, 7 ounces for $2.59. Divide 7 by $2.59. And again, so then you'll have the cost per ounce for each one. And the question is, which package has the lowest cost per ounce? So is it the white rice? Actually, there's 2 white rices. Never mind, they're all 3 white rice. So you'll have to let me know. We'll just say blue, the blue package. What color is that?
Yellow.
Okay, yellow.
That's yellow?
Kind of brownish yellow. And then green. So which one has the lowest price per ounce? All right, circle 10 and 11. Circle 12, I got that started for you here. In large cities, people often take taxis to get from one place to another. What is the cost per mile of a taxi ride? And then I underline how much is a 47-mile taxi ride. So here's the cost. It was $25.20 for 36 miles. So what would you divide by 36? 25.20. That's going to give you the cost per mile. All right? But don't forget, there's a second question. How much would then a 47-mile taxi ride cost? Well, you're going to do 47 times the cost per mile. Questions? Awfully quiet. Okay. 13, circle A and B. 14, circle A, scratch out B. 15, not worried about. 16, A and B, I'm not worried about. 17, looks like you would select 3 of the, what do we have here, 5 boxes. Okay. So, you guys got plenty of time left. I'm not worried about page 86 here. You just put a line through it. But as I said, I do want you to do, this is page 85, and we'll grade that, I don't know, in a half an hour or so. All right? And then the rest of the assignment, you'll have time in class to work on it. And what you don't get done in class, we will consider it Friday work.